Briahna, I've seen people coming out saying the most ridiculous things about this case. There is zero evidence that there was any racial motivation whatsoever for Daniel Penny's actions. There's zero evidence of him ever being any kind of white supremacist. And the interview he gave last night, he's a publicity-shy guy. He doesn't want to get involved in anything like that, who's had his life nearly destroyed by what happened, but says he would do it all over again in the same circumstances. We used to salute people like this. We used to literally give them awards for public service. Why is he being vilified?
So I'm not interested in doing identity politics. That's not my game. I wasn't interested in talking about the race in the other vigilante case, and I'm not especially interested in talking about race in this one. I think, as is often the case when race is evoked in the United States of America, the underlying issue is really class, and this very much is a class issue. This is a person, Jordan Neely, who was clearly in the middle of a mental health episode, who was loud, who was threatening, who was making very grievous threats that I think sincerely scared people in the subway. Look, I'm from New York, Piers. I know what it feels like to feel intimidated by someone who is having some kind of mental episode or is just a violent person in a subway car. And I think it's legitimate to feel afraid, to want to move to the other end of the car like so many passengers did, to want to get off at the next stop, to even call the police. I think what's really unconscionable is that New York City has a $6 billion police budget, and there never seems to be an officer who's actually trained to de-escalate these kinds of situations in the car where they need to. They're out standing at the turnstiles trying to spend tens of thousands of dollars of salary to catch subway evaders who've stolen $2 in change by jumping over a turnstile. I think the critical issue here is the question of how Penny intervened. I think the idea of wanting to intervene to de-escalate and prevent harm from coming to your fellow passengers is heroic. But the question is whether or not he used proportional force and whether he should be responsible if the way that he intervened with physical force before, to be clear, Jordan Neely did anything physical that resulted in the death of Jordan Neely should have legal implications, or whether we should incentivize as a public, just like I'm sure you don't want to incentivize vigilante shooters like Luigi, whether we should incentivize as a public Marines who are trained in the art of killing to go around taking matters into their own hands in a way that leads to the death of our fellow citizens.
So just to be